Do you know how many people are in jail right this minute today who have been there for more than 90 days who have not been indicted?
I do not.
After 7 months of sustained investigation by the KVUE Defenders and senior reporter Tony Plahetsky into the missed deadlines by the Travis County District Attorney's Office, officials appear to have addressed an issue the Defenders uncovered.
Well, the number of people languishing in jail waiting for an indictment past a 90-day period has dwindled to zero after we found DA Jose Garza's administration did not meet those deadlines hundreds of times last year.
Senior reporter Tony Plahetsky is here with us on Daybreak Plus to talk about this months of reporting. Tony, you started this, really the release of 2 murder defendants. You started this whole process with that, but you uncovered really a widespread kind of pervasive issue here, didn't you?
So this all started back in February when we learned about the release of 2 murder defendants because prosecutors hadn't brought an indictment against them within 90 days. The defense attorney for both of those men stood outside the courtroom and he said to a group of reporters who had gathered around him that this was a far more pervasive issue here in Travis County. And he said specifically in Travis County. So we went to work to try to determine whether or not that was in fact the case. And what we found over months is that there were hundreds of people last year who remained in jail past that legally required deadline for prosecutors to bring a case against them, to bring a formal indictment against them. Why is that important? Well, it's an important law for 2 reasons. Number one, we don't want people staying in jail. The criminal justice system does not want people staying in jail past 90 days if the evidence against them is weak or insufficient. But at the same time, if a person is not indicted, particularly a violent person is not indicted within that 90-day period, he or she is then entitled to a bond that they can afford. So then that allows them to return to the street, which authorities say can pose dangers to the community.
Oh, absolutely. And it is important to note, Tony, that the DA has never acknowledged that this is an issue within his office.
To us, at least, he has not acknowledged that. In fact, just to rewind the tape, when all of this first came about with those 2 murder defendants, he blamed a prosecutor who no longer was in his office and said that it was her responsibility. She oversaw these 2 cases. It was a breakdown by her, that it was sort of limited in scope. Then, as we started saying, well, what about these additional cases we're finding? He said, well, actually, the law, it does not impose a deadline for prosecutors. That was striking to us because entire frameworks and prosecutors' offices across the state have systems in place to ensure that they meet those very deadlines. Prosecutors told me that this is the kind of thing that they would lie awake at night, making sure that they met that 90-day deadline. So for the district attorney to say that, I think was striking then and continues to be. I will say when we went back to him to say, okay, it looks like your office has addressed these issues, he would not sit down with us again, but released a statement that essentially didn't even address this issue. It just said, you know, we're proud of the work we've been doing over the past 5 years.
So let's get more into that. What has happened over the last few months to kind of correct the issue? And what does the analysis show when it comes down to these cases and these individuals?
So again, we spent months, executive producer Joe Ellis and I spent months going through court records. And again, we found 263 cases last year that were not handled within that 90-day period. Now, on the day we learned about the murder defendants, on that very day, we found that there were 27 people sitting in jail in that moment beyond 90 days who had not seen their cases indicted or action on their cases. But we've tracked it each month in the months since then. It started, the number of people in jail past 90 days started going down precipitously with the bright red spotlight on this. And at the same time, since the month of June through September, there has been no one in jail past 90 days after, again, sort of the attention on this issue. So clearly, while the district attorney has not said, oh, yes, this was a problem in my office, there have been steps taken to remedy it. and those steps appear to be working.
But if you think about it, with any job, there should be checks and balances. And you know what? If you wouldn't have put the pressure and if the spotlight wouldn't have been on it, then do you really think that there would have been a change and the numbers would have dwindled and the numbers would be down to zero? I mean, isn't that with every job there should be, you know, like, hey, just make sure that, you know, you're meeting the objective, you're meeting the goal, you know, checks and balances.
Safeguards.
Yeah, and I think this was an issue, frankly, that was frustrating to defense attorneys and judges over many months, during several years, frankly, within the administration of District Attorney Jose Garza. But it really took those murder cases where those murder defendants were released, I think, to focus the attention on this issue. And again, I just remember so distinctly when the defense attorney stood outside that courtroom and said, this is a pervasive problem, specifically in Travis County. I thought it was an opportunity to either say, yes, it is, or no, it's not. And if it is an issue, why is it an issue? And the truth is we found a far more systemic issue than I think we realized at the front end of all of it.
I know Travis County is what you're focusing on here, and I'm just curious, have you heard since your reporting began on this of other counties dealing with similar issues?
Well, I'm glad you asked about that because, yes, we have spent considerable time kind of examining this issue. So go to the north in Williamson County. They have a written policy, District Attorney Sean Dick in that office, that says you must resolve through an indictment a case within 90 days. If you don't, you must notify your supervisor immediately. So there are district attorneys' offices that, again, not only have frameworks, they have policies. Prosecutors have been disciplined. They've been fired for not meeting these deadlines. At the same time, though, and this is an important thing to note, that there are other counties and other jurisdictions throughout the state that have struggled similarly to Travis County to meet these deadlines. For example, along the border, there are some border counties that have had issues with this. We've heard about other counties across the state, but no one has said that this is a statewide problem, a statewide issue from El Paso to, you know, Orange, or from North Texas to South Texas. No one is saying that. I will tell you, though, that in addition to the obvious reforms that we've seen from our local district attorney's office, the Texas Judicial Council, this is the policy-making body for Texas judges, they also have adopted a rule, it went into effect September 1st, that judges now have to report to the state every time they lower a defendant's bond because a prosecutor failed to meet that 90-day deadline.
Interesting. And that's just as of this month.
September 1st.
Wow.
I mean, these rules are in place for a reason so that things work, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
As they
And to
should.
your point, Yvonne, about checks and balances, the Judicial Council says, well, this is a way that now we can track that and we can really know how big of an issue this is statewide.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Great reporting.
Thank
Getting
you. Thank you.
literally
Yes.
getting results.
Yeah, that's what journalism is. I mean,
what it's all about.
Your interest was piqued, and you looked into it to see, is it an issue or is it not?
And it is, frankly, the sustained public attention that I think has really had an impact here.
Thanks, Tony. Tony Plahetsky, you can catch this story tonight at
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on KVUE. I'll be sleepy time. I'm just teasing. I'm going to stay up tonight just to watch.
You're set to watch it.
Watch
That's
your
good.
reporting. Looking forward to seeing
Thank
that.
you.
Tony, thanks
Good
for
to be
being
with both of you
early here.